My experience with prostate cancer started with my dad. So I became aware up close that prostate cancer was a thing and it was in relational proximity to me. There were other relationships that I would find out later where I had uncles on my mother's side who had it. But the issue with the kind of the African American tradition at times is that certain types of ailments we don't talk about. We don't discuss the issues of life that often affect how we approach future generations or successive generations actually approach what's going on.
We want to be certain that we are explaining why it's important to have what for many families are difficult conversations. It's not unusual for a patient to be seen here who shares with us that they're not certain about the cancer history in their family. For whatever reasons, those conversations didn't take place. We need to make sure that they begin to take place because sometimes risk, and it includes prostate cancer risk, is tied to family history. If you don't know what that history is, it doesn't mean that we can't care for you. It means that you don't necessarily have all the information that you need to be able to help generations ahead in your family.
I still remember the day that the notice pops up in my chart that you have new test results, right? I said, well, I know what this is because I just had the biopsy. Let me look. And for the different cores that they had taken, I go down the list and it's negative, negative, negative. And then I see two that were actually positive for prostate cancer. And the doctor gave me, he said, prostate cancer grows slowly. We don't have to go after it right now. We can watch it to see, and then you take some time to figure out, do you want to do implantation? Do you want to do external radiation? Do you want to do surgery? He had a recommendation that it would be surgery. And I said, well, if it's in me, I'm not waiting to see what happens with it. Let me get it out.
When a man is diagnosed with prostate cancer, broadly speaking, the options for management range from doing nothing, something we call active surveillance or even watchful waiting. There's a type of prostate cancer that it's good to know that we have it so we can track it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to do anything about it. And if it's a localized cancer, then broadly speaking, the two options are going to be radiation and surgery. And we're in an era, luckily today, where both should not disrupt your life in any major way. So again, critical to know that we have the cancer so that we can treat it effectively and improve quality of life and quantity of life.
The big fear for me, and I think for many, as I've talked to some of my friends and family members who've gone through it, is the two letters that no sexually active man wants to hear. The two letters are ED. Nobody wants to hear ED. We may not be able to pronounce it, but we know what it means, right? And when you're worried that your body's not going to function anymore, that's a big concern because so much of our identity, our value, our worth, our strength as men is tied to being able to say we're functioning, right, as men. The big fear was when I got to these benchmarks, what if I'm not feeling any sensation? What if the treatments to kind of help with the transition through the period of some level of erectile dysfunction, what if they don't work for me? Those are the concerns that kind of keep you in the moment. But I think the issue becomes, how do you use it? You use it, for me, to fuel staying the path and the course of getting healthy completely, which is a process. And I have a responsibility as not only the patient, but as one who wants to continue to enjoy the fullness of life, to make sure that I honor that investment with doing my part. Even though I still have those concerns, I kind of feels pretty good to stay. Doesn't necessarily work that, that it's kind of the ebb and flow of life, but it's still life.
Prostate cancer treatment can cause impotence. It can cause incontinence. And many men are very concerned about this. Some think that every man gets impotence and incontinence. That's not true. And even for those men who do get it, we have some treatments for both impotence as well as for incontinence. And I would encourage men to explore this with their doctors rather than just make the blanket decision, screening is not for me or treatment is not for me, because what you might think might not be true.
I think it's important that we have more opportunities to talk about what it means to be an African-American man who has gone through prostate treatment and not only survived it. A lot of times we talk about survival rates. This is about more than survival. This is about thriving. This is about still dreaming, still pursuing all of the things that you had on your bucket list before this temporary period of disruption came along. And now that you've worked through this with a medical team that's fully engaged, highly trained, being able to address it, guess what? You still got the rest of your life to go. Keep living.